Hello, everybody. Welcome to Most Wanted Comics. Our podcast is back. We have been gone for a little bit, but Atomic Tommy is right next to me, my right hand man, and Kevin the Tank back with you after our 100 episodes. You know, we hit that 100 episodes. You had to finish college. You're off for the summer.
Yeah,
How did it go? How was your school year?
it was good. It was good. It was a tough semester, but we got through it.
Yep.
It had its challenges, but
Next year, you're going to be a senior and graduate from
yes,
college,
next
huh?
year we're
Big round of
graduating.
applause
Yes,
for Atomic Tommy.
yes, that's a big deal.
Graduating from the University of Madison, Wisconsin. Nobody's
Yes,
perfect, but he chose Wisconsin. But we'll deal with that. That's okay. Congratulate you! Got your senior year ahead of you. It's going to be a lot of fun. But let's talk. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to
do
catch up with you.
do.
As you know, the Mighty Mafu and our toy guy, Jeff, they signed a big contract with us and now have their own show.
They do.
Yeah,
Shelf
and
life.
you're on that Atomic T.
I
You're part
am
of that
you.
cat. Wow, man, Shelf
I am
Life.
acting as the producer of Shelf Life, so you'll hear me behind the camera, chiming in, talking some shit. You know how it is.
Yeah, so you know now, Most Wanted Comics has two shows. We have our normal podcast, which we're getting back into, and we have Shelf Life, which is hosted by the Mighty Mafu, Jeffrey, and Atomic T.
Yes,
So we have a
very
lot
exciting.
going on here at Most Wanted Comics. Let's start off, of course, with some housekeeping and upcoming events. We have Demolition coming.
Yes.
WWE Hall of Famers just got into the Hall of Fame there. We're excited to host Demolition here at the shop Saturday, May 30th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Come down and meet these guys. They are awesome group of dudes. Uh, all the pricing, all the details are at mostwantedcomics.com or follow us on Facebook, Most Wanted Comics MN on Facebook, and Instagram, Most Wanted Comics LLC. Now, if you like our podcast and want to always never miss an episode, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe because we are coming back at you on a regular basis again with our podcast, or at least until Tommy starts school again.
Yeah. Whichever comes first.
Whichever, you know, but we're all excited to be back in action. We have a lot to talk about because we had some TV shows come out. We got movies coming out.
Comics.
We got comics that came
Comics that
out. We
come
have to talk about a little controversy we had with Green Arrow.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have to talk about
So
that.
we have to talk about that. But Atomic T, why don't you take it from here and get the ball rolling?
Yeah, so we have a lot, as the tank said here, we have a lot to catch up on. Okay, we have some books. Let's start with some comics. A lot has come out lately that's been good. A lot I've read. Let's start here. If you watched Daredevil Born Again and you're like, man, I want to read some Daredevil comics, good news. There is a new run that just started. Issue 1 is out, issue 2 is out. Stephanie Phillips is the writer, a fresh sort of perspective on Daredevil, bringing it kind of back to the classic after a pretty mediocre run over the last year and a half. Very refreshing, very fun. There is no better time to jump on and start reading Daredevil than right now. Issue 1 is kind of tough to get, but fear not, they are doing a third printing. So make sure you pre order that. I'm sure there'll be a fourth printing. I'm sure you'll be able to get it. Same with number 2. Number 3's out next month, so jump in right now while it's hot. Daredevil's pretty good. How about this one next? We got to talk about a few indie books that have come out lately. Let's start with Fireborn. Okay, now this one's a little bit older, but again, we've been gone for a little while. Okay, so this came out like about a month ago or so. And I want to chime in because the indie stuff is kind of all the rage right now. There's a lot of hot stuff going on in independent comics at Image, Boom, even like smaller press now, like Mad Cave, Bad Idea, Ignition Press, like all of these
They're setting the bar.
indie publishers.
Look out,
There's
Marvel.
a lot of interest for those guys right now. And they are releasing some good stuff. And Fireborn looks pretty cool. And the reason why Fireborn looks pretty cool is because you see that guy with the sick Skyrim looking armor on the cover. And so I checked it out, and a lot of the action was cool. It's very manga style, very manga kind of feel to it, with like the big kind of crazy dragons and weapons and action scenes. But it's not perfect. Okay, we have some dialogue issues. For sure, feels a little flat. The character drops the F bomb every panel, kind of loses its luster. But overall, if you're looking for like a fun kind of action book that's not super complicated, not super deep, I think you're going to enjoy Fireborn. I'd give that a solid 6.5 out of 10. Definitely not a bad book at all. Other book that came out sort of around that same time that I want to talk about is Corpse Knight. Okay, now Corpse Knight's kind of an interesting one because I'm a medieval fan. I like medieval stories, and that's kind of what this is. Definitely set in that time period. And the artwork is absolutely gorgeous in this book. I love the style. It's kind of what drew me in the first place. And another kind of fun fact about it, the writer of this book is actually a film director, worked on horror movies like The Nun, I believe The Nun 2, and which are movies that I have not seen and probably will never see. However,
Not our cup of tea.
not our cup of tea. However, this is a gentleman that wanted to make a shift and start writing comics. And you could kind of tell, like, maybe this is his first comic. He's not really sure. There's definitely some film elements to this that you don't really see in other books. So you can kind of tell that it's definitely his first book, but overall, it was fun. I kind of hoped for a little bit more of like a cliffhanger or some kind of hook to really get you in. But the artwork does an amazing job carrying this story, and it is an interesting premise for sure. Sort of the undead type knight that father of this young child, and there's sort of a bond there. It is an interesting premise. I was hoping for a little bit more. You can tell, you know, there's a little bit of green to there to the writer of that book, but I'm sure it will pick up and be really good in the future. I'm gonna keep reading it. Check that out if you kind of like that medieval type feel. Uh, there was a new absolute title that just released last week, Absolute Green Arrow, that we have to talk about. Uh, Dad, I know you have some stronger opinions on it than I do. I read the book. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Loved the action, loved the design, loved the style for Green Arrow, loved the weapons. I love that his bow is made up of machetes. I think that's awesome. Readers of the Absolute series will know what happened to Green Arrow, will know that Oliver Queen is already dead, and this is some kind of vengeance story. And I think it's really cool. I love how it's framed. I love how sort of deep Black Canary is. I was hoping for a little bit more Green Arrow in the first issue. It felt more Black Canary. Uh, but I'm hoping in issue 2 there's some more Green Arrow. But overall, I love the style. I love the artwork. I think it's awesome. However, Dad, you do not.
Look,
So why don't you take it away?
everybody knows I've made it very clear that I am uh, a guy who enjoys Punisher and Ghost Rider. I am a vigilante justice fan in comics, and I'm all about the rage and the violence. I like that. I am not a fan of his bow. I think, oh, he's made of machetes. That's so cool. You know what? I'm an Oliver Queen fan through and through. They should have brought back and had Oliver Queen be vengeful, but he doesn't need. I mean, come on. Let's get Mike Grell. Call Mike Grell. Hey, Mike Grell, you're out there. You're back out doing shows again. We're glad you're through it, buddy. You got through your health issues. Let's get Mike Grell back on the bench. Call him up. Get him drawing some Green Arrow. Nobody draws Green Arrow better than Mike Grell. Okay, and let's bring back
No,
classic Oliver Queen.
nobody's arguing with you there
But I don't know why they had to make him look like a combination of Skeletor and Ghost Rider. And
because it's cool.
because it's cool, but it's already been done. Skeletor's already been done, and Ghost Rider's so they throw red eyes on him like he's demonic or something, or what? I don't get it. I mean, yeah, it's a fun story just because of the violence and everything, and it's gonna be great for the audience. But if you're a true Green Arrow fan, I'm just not happy with the design of it.
I mean, I wouldn't even say like it's not just violence. I mean, there is a story here,
There
about
is
sort of the greed of individuals and fighting up against forces larger than yourself, and there is going to
the
be
classic,
a
yeah.
good story here, and there's intrigue. Obviously we can probably all guess who the Green Arrow is in this book since Oliver Queen is dead. But I mean, I would strongly disagree. I think this book would be an absolute failure if it was just the same Green Arrow that we all know. Because that's not the point of the Absolute books. The point of the Absolute is not to be, oh, here's Mike Grell back on classic Green Arrow. If you want to do that in main Green Arrow, that's awesome. I love Mike Grell. He's awesome. But that's not what this is for. That's not what the point of this is.
No, I know
So it's
they've made them all. I mean, Batman has been totally reimagined in Absolute.
That's what the line
And
is
I
for.
know that Green Arrow has been totally reimagined, and I don't know. I guess I just when I first saw the redesign, I'm like, oh, that's not the Green Arrow I know. And I'm sure, you know what? It was probably a great story. The first one, well, yes. I mean, what can you say? It was violent. It was action packed. It was good, but I don't know. I still always see Oliver Queen when I see Green Arrow. Phil Hester did it that way. Mike Grell did it that way. Uh, that's just what I'm used to. You know.
And there are decades of Green Arrow comics available on the shelf
I
for
know
you.
because I'm old,
Uh,
and that's okay.
DC still regularly publishes mainline Green Arrow. In fact, there was just a run that wrapped up last year, and I'm sure there will be another one not that long from now. So there is still plenty of room, I think, for classic Green Arrow. But in my opinion, as terms of reimaginings go, I thought this was really cool. I love. There's definitely some kind of Daredevil inspiration in the bow and how the machetes and the string kind of transform into like a slingshot type thing. He can like throw around and swing around with the machetes. I think that stuff is what sells books. I think it's really awesome. I think
That's the
people
other
love it.
thing. Is he got special powers? Like,
No, I think he's just badass. I think he's just a monster, and I think that's cool. I think that's really fun. But tell us what you think about Absolute Green Arrow. I thought it was awesome. I know the readers think it's awesome because the book is sold out pretty much everywhere. There's one more book that we have to talk about this week, and that's also Odin. Okay, now Odin is an Image book. We're gonna wrap back around to that for a second. James Tinian book. Obviously, he is one of the best writers on the shelf. Now, a little bit outside of my wheelhouse in terms of what I like to read. Okay, a little bit too out there, a little bit too. I don't always love the horror type stuff, so it was a little bit out there for me. Not really kind of my cup of tea.
so we're not
However,
talking Thor. Odin.
no, 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 no. We are not talking a
I
Marvel
know.
book here.
I
We're
know. I'm
talking
just
an Image book. However, it was well written, and what can you expect? It is James Tinian. I just wanted to bring it up so you all know that if you're looking for something good, that is definitely an option, although not really my cup of tea. Moving on, we have shows that we need to talk about. A lot has come out lately. We got a recap. April was maybe one of the greatest months for comic book pop culture television in recent history. I mean, you had all in the same week. You would have Maul, you had Invincible, you had Daredevil, you had The Boys, all releasing at the same time. It was incredible.
yeah.
Um,
Shout out for the boys, huh?
Shout out for The Boys, a final season. Not the greatest season of The Boys, not the greatest final season you'll ever watch, but definitely wrapped it up in a fun way. Sort of kept to the humor. Definitely wasn't as out there as season four. Definitely brought me back a little bit because I thought season four was absolute trash. Um, Definitely kind of went back to what made the show good. Again, wasn't the greatest season. Couldn't quite recapture that season one or two, even three. Um,
Magic,
Hype and
magic.
magic, but it was still pretty good. Shout out to the boys for a
Hey,
successful end to
yeah,
the
great,
show.
great run for the
Probably
boys. I think
probably one of the most influential comic book shows of the last decades, couple of years for
probably since the
sure.
Watchmen, huh?
There's definitely a lot of Watchmen inspiration in the boys. And this really sort of brought a lot of that to light for casual viewers, for probably the first time since, you know, I don't even know when, maybe the Watchmen movie, like you said. But so shout out to the boys. Let's a quick recap of Invincible 2. Invincible still remains probably one of the best comic book television shows out there right now. Love Invincible. I know not everybody, our own producer Dan, who's not in the house today, is not an Invincible fan. Not everybody's perfect, but it is still widely regarded one of the best comic book television shows. I'd agree. Another big influence on the market and on the hobby, like The Boys. I love Invincible. I love The Boys, but I think Invincible's better. You can at me on that.
Well, I think
Um,
Invincible's better because it's not live action.
yeah, well, Invincible definitely has. If we're going to talk about the flaws of Invincible, I would say it is the animation because oftentimes it's just not up to par with other things out, from like DreamWorks or even Star Wars. Star Wars animation peaked with Maul, which I think is a good segue into Maul. Invincible was fantastic. Season 4 was great, but I absolutely thought Maul was a lot of fun. And I think the best
Slow
part of
burn.
it is a slow burn. Not a lot happens. I mean, just to be honest with you, like not a lot. It's not like a crazy story or anything. It's pretty boring if you're just looking at the story. But I think the animation is really what pushes this. I think the Clone War style never looked better than it does here. There's a lot of lightsaber fights. I do have a couple of gripes with Maul, despite the fact that I thought it was a fun show. I think it completely undermines the power scaling of like dark side users at this point. Because I mean, if you think about this, right? Maul struggles against these Inquisitors like the whole season. Okay, and yeah, it's 2-on-1. His leg is supposedly hurt or whatever, which is kind of a whole separate idea, given that it's kind of inconsistent when it actually affects him. But he's struggling against these Inquisitors, both of which Ahsoka kind of pieces up no problem. I mean, the Ghoul, like the one with the sick Raven mask, Ahsoka kills that guy in like 3 seconds. And if you watch Clone Wars, you're kind of under the assumption that Maul and Ahsoka are kind of on similar combat levels because they have a pretty close fight. So not only are we suspending disbelief that Maul is struggling against these Inquisitors, but then Vader shows up, and at that point, you'd think, well, Maul should have no chance against Vader if he's struggling against these Inquisitors. Yet Maul sort of keeps the fight up against Vader. But anyway, I thought Maul was fun, despite some significant flaws. But I thought it was a good time.
Well, I thought the dark side never looked stronger. I mean, you had the Inquisitors, you had Maul, and you
Yeah,
had Vader, and
yeah,
since Rogue One, we haven't seen badassery out of Darth Vader like that. I mean, it's been since that one 5 minute scene
yeah.
in Rogue One, we saw one of the best lightsaber fights of all of
It,
Star Wars, period. And that was awesome. It was fun to watch the Jedi and Darth Maul team up and fight Darth Vader together. It was fun just to watch all that. It was incredible action for a non live action,
yeah, yeah.
and it really was awesome.
Again, I love the animation. I love the fights. I love, like you said, they all look super strong. I just think there's a little inconsistency with where Maul is or should be at this point, given those fights. But I thought Maul was good. Last show we need to talk about before we talk about Punisher, which isn't really a show, is Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Now, if you know, we've talked about Daredevil Born Again Season 1 a few times back when the show came out, when we did our big MCU ranking. Daredevil season 1, I thought was extraordinarily mid. I was not a fan. It, I think, insulted the legacy of the Netflix show, to put it plainly. There were a few highlights, the Punisher stuff. Yeah, guy's great. But overall, I thought season 1 was not that great. Season 2 is a significant improvement to season 1. It's still not perfect, okay?
No,
And part of it, part of my problem is that I keep trying to compare Born Again to the Netflix
you
show.
can't compare Netflix to
You
Disney.
can't do it, despite how much they want you to, with all the cameos and look, it's detective. It's Brett Mahoney, and all this stuff is back. But despite how much they want you to, you really can't do it. It's really not even close, I think, to the level of quality that the Netflix show had. But this was a significant improvement. It's nice to see Jessica Jones back. It's nice to see Kingpin's strength a little bit. I think it's pushed a little bit far to sort of the MCU comic book extreme with him like just flailing people around. Again, that's sort of a problem with comparing it to the Netflix show, as his strength was sort of portrayed a lot differently there than it was in season 2. But I thought the story was a little bit tighter. I thought it was at least more consistent, and you didn't have a bunch of different plot lines and stuff collaging badly like you did in season 1. So season 2 of Born Again, definitely an improvement, but still not quite there for me compared to the Netflix show. And just in general, when stacked up against other MCU shows like Loki or X-Men 97 or anything like that. So definitely an improvement. I'm excited for season 3. Still not quite there, but now we have to talk about the Punisher special, because obviously Punisher is probably your favorite character, and I
Punisher's
had a lot.
my
And I
favorite
think we have.
character.
I think you probably have something to say about
I
that.
think that the Punisher again, that was kind of a slow burn. I think
Yeah.
they did too much of him retrospecting, and going through his demons again and going. I mean, we've been through the ghosts how many times, of his past,
Yeah.
and talking to him. I get he had to do that. The sound quality was absolute shit. It was terrible sound quality, but after the first 25 minutes, amazing. It was awesome. If you're a pet owner, you haven't watched this yet. If you're a pet owner and a dog lover, do not watch the opening part of The Punisher.
It's
It
tough.
is hard to watch.
It's tough.
And they go right into that and leave you just surprised, shocked, sad. And then they go into all his punishing himself and missing his family. And we get it. We know the story of the Punisher, but it was just too much of the reflection.
Yeah.
I think they took too long on that. And then you wanted to see more of the Punisher doing the punishing. I did like the mafia coming after him.
Yeah. That's cool.
That part was cool how they spinned it around on him, but that should have happened a little earlier, and they could have done more with that. They rushed that part because they put too much time on the self reflection,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the very end, which is cool. We're not going to. Well, you've all seen it by now. Come on. I mean, if you haven't, get with the program. You've seen it by now. But I mean, the very end, you finally get the justice,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, we made the beginning scene right. Um, and how he became the Punisher again. Kind of brought himself back out of the shell and into the world as, hey, I'm the Punisher and I'm batshit crazy, going to do crazy things to do what's right, um,
Yeah.
to serve justice on people in every illegal way possible.
Yeah.
um, but like I said, I like the show. The sound quality was terrible. They need to work on that for the next one. But I expect greater things out of the Punisher the next time they do it because
Yeah.
now he's back into the MCU. He's going to show up in Spider Man. He's going to show up in Daredevil again, I'm assuming,
Hope
right?
so.
We hope so. Um,
I
yeah,
mean,
let's bring him out,
I, I see kind of both ends to this because on one hand, like if you've never seen the Punisher TV show, right, and you're like a new MCU fan or you don't really know the Punisher, like this is an okay introduction to that character. Like if you watched just Daredevil and you saw the Punisher and you don't know anything about the Punisher, this gives you the gist of like who he is and what his kind of conflict is internally and what he sets out to do as the Punisher. But again, like you said, for everybody else, we already know all that, and we already saw it done better in both the Punisher show and the Netflix Daredevil show, right?
and
So
much more in depth.
and much more in depth, and with I think just a much better story, right? And that's kind of like my issue with it is I don't understand what really the point of this was. Um, it felt like it was supposed to be like a pilot episode to a Punisher show that they decided to not move forward with and just took the pilot and kind of retrofitted it into like a 45-minute special. Which the special idea is I don't have an issue with that. I thought, stuff like Werewolf by Night or Guardians the holiday thing, I thought that all worked really well in that format, but this just felt a little I don't want to say pointless, but it kind of felt a little bit pointless because they're probably not going to make a Punisher show. I doubt they'll dive deep into this kind of follow up in Spider-Man. And, I really would not want them to dedicate airtime of like a third season of Daredevil to make it like a mini Punisher show like they did in Star Wars with Boba Fett, where they did like in the middle of the season, it was all of a sudden the Mandalorian show. I don't want them to do that in Daredevil and make it with the Punisher, right? So I don't really understand what the point of this was. I don't really understand why they decided to even release it, despite the fact that it was probably already done, because I don't think it really accomplishes anything. It doesn't accomplish anything for the larger MCU. It doesn't really accomplish anything for the Punisher as a character, because by the time we see him again, we already know his development. We already know who he is. And we've already seen all of this. No new ground is being broken, and it will not continue to be broken via this story and future projects. So I don't really understand what the point of it was. It was kind of an entertaining 45 minutes. Like you said, there were definitely some problems with the sound and with the visual effects. You know, that one scene where he's falling onto the roof panel has gone viral for good reason. It does not look good. But you know, overall it was entertaining. But no, I can see why there's always a pattern with Marvel where if they don't really promote something, you know, it's for a reason. And they didn't really promote this. I mean, they dropped the trailer for this like a couple weeks before it launched. You know, they did like a premiere and they posted about it on social media, but it flew largely under the radar due to its release a week after Daredevil ended. So they released this a week after with kind of minimal social media promotion and hype built overall. And every time they do that, it's usually for a reason, and the reason is usually because it's not very good. So it was entertaining, but yeah, no, it was rough. But it did get us, I think, all a little bit excited to see the Punisher in Spider-Man, which I think is everybody's kind of anticipated project right
Yeah, it did its job as a service. Okay, we brought the Punisher back. We're all
now.
done with the political crap where they took him out, sent him to hell, and we got rid of everything. They brought back the logo, everything. They brought him back. They're reintroducing him to the Marvel universe again. So, mission accomplished on that part of it. But yeah, I'm with you. The first part of the show was shocking, and then the
And
show sucked for a little bit,
and
and then it
another,
got good, and
I
then
guess
yeah.
a last point is there are a lot of like there's a couple characters in here like the villain and the sidekicks that are Punisher characters like
Yeah.
from the books.
Yeah, they kept it comic
But
accurate there, but
will they ever be followed up on? Probably not, right? So again, it's tough. It's a tough situation. Now the other thing that we uh that has come out lately is Mandalorian and Grogu. But we're not going to talk about that here because if you want to hear us talk about it, you got to check out Shelf Life
yep,
with
that show's gonna
myself,
be
the
talked
Mighty
about
Mouse,
on Shelf Life.
and Chef, and we're going to talk about Mandalorian there. So that is our recap. We've talked about some comics. We've talked about some movies and shows that we've missed.
Upcoming events.
Upcoming events. We've talked about upcoming events. A pretty successful podcast. One of the other things that I want to talk about, maybe not today, but I want to hint at a little bit, is the new upcoming Midnight Marvel universe, sort of a response to the absolute universe in a way.
And will comic book distributors let us do midnight releases?
And
We gotta
will
find
Midnight
that out.
releases be making a comeback for Midnight Marvel? I think that would be a lot of fun. But I want to talk about that. Maybe that's a topic for next time.
That is. Hey, it was great. We're back in the action. Hey, if you want to check us out, remember we're located in beautiful Bloomington, Minnesota, 3700 West Old Shakopee Road. If you're
3701.
3701 West Old Shakopee Road, right next to MGM Liquor and across the Perk Up Kitchen. I tell you what, if you are on summer vacation and you're coming to the Mall of America or coming to see some of the sites here in the Twin Cities, we are located just 10 minutes west of the Mall of America. We are right centrally located in the suburbs, just 20 minutes out of Minneapolis. So we're easy to find. We're just 10 minutes from the airport. So if you're coming to visit Minnesota, make sure you make Most Wanted Comics one of your side. We have comic books, we have vintage toys, we have gaming cards, we have all sorts of fun stuff for you. We even carry Silver and Golden Age comics.
That's
As
right.
well as the new comics. So make sure you go to our website, mostwantedcomics.com. Check us out. Let us know you're coming. We'd love to see you and see you in person. Thanks for all of you watching, and thank you for all of your support. And we'll get back to shout outs when we get back into the action here, but we're not going to do them today. So make sure you give us a smash and a like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time, everybody.